Yeah, when I was younger, I was definitely trying to do all the things that people told me I should do, and it felt terrible. And that's how you make an entrepreneur. You just torture them working in other people's offices, doing terrible work that I just couldn't care about. And
Oh, yes.
yeah, I've had my own business for 12 years.
Awesome. Thank you for being here today. We're going to go over your human design chart, and you can tell me just a few words about you, your business before we start.
My name's Lauren. I'm a copywriter at truerwordsbylauren.com, and I copyright for coaches, spiritual folks. Yeah, that's about it.
I love your copywriting. And you also told me that you're brand new to human design, that you heard about it, but never really like made your chart or stuff like that.
Yes, so many people tell me about what they found because they've had human design readings, or some of my clients do human design read, and I've always been really curious, and I've never had a chance to do it. So thank you for this.
Okay, you're most welcome. I'm excited to do this and to share with you today the basics, of course. Okay, I'm gonna share the screen. Good. Do you see this? Your chat. Perfect. Lovely. Ta-da! This is the representation of your. Now everything is clear.
Yeah, I know what none of this means.
I think I sent you a PDF where I explained briefly what the color means and the name of the centers. Did you have a look at it?
I did.
Okay. So now you know everything. No,
you might have to walk me through it again.
Yes, I will. Yeah, we're gonna go over briefly, so just so we have a little bit of a common language. But the idea is not to really go into details of all means in details, but more to give you the overview basics of what it means for you. Yeah, so what type you are, what's your strategy, what's your authority or decision-making process. That's how we call in human design. And very important, what are the voices in your head that tell you stuff against your own good, let's say, because those voices come from wherever you are. You have these centers undefined. So this is what I would like to cover in the 1 hour we have together. If you have any questions, you don't understand something is really what, please ask me. don't be shy. Yeah, you asked me about taking notes. Yeah, you can take notes. You have a left mind, and left mind people are very strategic, and it's okay for you to take notes. If you had a right arrow here, I would encourage you to experiment with not taking notes and see how that goes. But in your case, yeah, go ahead.
Yep, that is very true. There's a lot of creativity, but a lot of analysis as well.
You also get access to the recording, so don't worry about being taking too thorough notes, because you also have the recording, so you'll have the chance to go over it again. Okay, so when we're looking at this drawing stuff here and numbers and arrows and stuff like that, what we see, everything that is colored in black is the conscious part. So wherever you have what we call a gate activation, that here we have the number of the gate, it's 59, and this symbol is the sun, yeah? And what's after the 59.6, that's the line. So this is the position of the planets. All these activations here on the right side with the black are how the planets were positioned the time you were born. And then the system calculates 3 months before your birth, everything that's with red. And that's the unconscious part. That's what we call design. Yeah, so this is the personality, who you think you are, who your mind identifies with. And this is the design part. That's more like stuff that comes out of your mouth. It's things you do, but you don't know why you do them. And maybe people around you would be like, oh, but you do that. And you're like, no, I don't recognize it. So that's the unconscious part. We have the conscious part, the unconscious part. Yeah. Now, depending where the planets are, a planet can be in one gate, but then you have another planet that can be in the same gate. So that's how you can have um, multiple activations. Like, for example, when you were born, you had Neptune in third line in gate 10, 3 months before you were born, and then you had Jupiter at, in the sixth line and Neptune in the first line when you were born. Yeah. So that's why you can have multiple activations in one gate. Now, when one gate is on one end of, like here you have the 20 and here you have the 34, and you see together they form what we call a channel. If 34 and 20 are active at the same time, then they form a channel. And this is what then creates definition in your, we call it definition in your chart. And that's how you have the sacral center defined and the throat. Yeah. Then you have the gate 10, who also makes a channel with the 20 and with the 34. And then you have the G center defined. And then you have gate 59 that makes a channel with gate 6. And you have the channel 59-6 active. So wherever there's definition, you can see these centers are colored in. Yeah. This is like what's consistent and true about you no matter what the transits, no matter what else is activated in your chart, because I think nowadays we have this whole chart, this whole channel activated, like 6124, you have the 24. So you will experience what it means to have the definition here, and everyone on the planet who doesn't have definition now will just have a taste of what it means to have a defined head in Ajna. And this can come with like difficulty sleeping or having vivid dreams and stuff like that, because this channel is about stuff like this.
Oh, that's interesting. Very true.
Okay, that's something to have in mind, and to look at the weather. We call it the weather. So we look at what's active in that day, and then we can see. So for example, we can look here at the just now chart. Yeah. And exactly like I said, yeah, we have the 6124 that's active. And then we have all these other hanging gates. So depending where you have another hanging gate, you might also experience other channels that are created. But all this is transitory. It's not consistently you. It's like education. You get to experience, oh, this is how it feels to be like this. This is how it is to have this channel. The thing is to remember that this is not you. This is not who you really are. And then to go back to who you really are. This is mine. So you can have a comparison. Yeah, I only have one channel and two centers defined. For me, everything else is open, undefined, and wherever we are open and undefined, this is where we amplify other people's energies, where we are conditioned, and where we have potential for wisdom. So we're going to go back to yours. So you have definition, your throat center is defined, your G center, sacral, and emotional. Yeah. What you have undefined is the head. And in your case, you see there are no hanging gates. Yeah, there's no 64, 61, and 63. They're not, none of them. So no planet was here when you were born. That makes your head completely open, we call it. And the Ajna, you have one hanging gate here. You have 24. Then in your heart, again, there were no planets. So there are no activation, and this makes you a person who has a completely open heart center. Then we have the spleen, and you have the 44 here, but because you don't have the 26, again, you have what we call a hanging gate in the spleen center. And the root center, the 38, I have it too. And because you don't have any channels, this is undefined. Now, wherever, like I said, wherever we are undefined, so wherever you see these centers in white, it's where you get very much conditioning. It's like you absorb, for example, an undefined head, you are very open to inspiration. And you have a flexible way of thinking. And you might have this like, look, something shiny. losing focus syndrome. I do too. I have an undefined head. You might feel like you're overwhelmed by too many ideas that float around in your head, and it can be difficult to like pin down what's worthy of following through. Or you might be pressed to answer everybody else's questions and thinking about things that don't matter. But we'll go more into depth into each of the centers. After, I will share a little bit about what it means to be, what your type is, and your authority, because these are like this is the backbone of any human design approach, whatever we're talking about. You need to know what your type and strategy and authority are. So because you have this sacral center defined and it connects with the throat, this makes you what we call a generator. And like 70% of the people are generators. Because you have this channel here, it makes you a pure manifesting generator. How it sounds like. You have access to the most energy of all types. You don't know about the four types. I'm going to briefly then share you about the four types, yeah?
Yes, please.
So 70% of the people are like you. 30 to 35% are generators, which means they don't have, for example, if you didn't have gate 20 here, you would only have these channels, and that would have made you a generator. Yeah, we wouldn't say you are a manifesting generator, you are just a generator. So there you have some commonality, like, I mean, the aura is the same. You are the same type, you have an open and enveloping aura. Imagine a ball of energy, and in which you are welcoming everyone in. You're enveloping everyone in. It doesn't matter how many people, you are like, let's welcome, come into my aura. So it's like you're drawing in life, and life will give you opportunities, will send you the right people, the right jobs, projects, whatever you want and need, as long as you are aligned with your strategy, which is wait to respond, and authority, which in your case is emotional. So a generator, all generators are here, we call generators the builders of the world. You are the ones who are here to do the heavy duty work. Whatever work means for you, it is essential that you love your work. Do work that you love the work that you do. Whatever it is that makes you feel that satisfaction after, during and after your offering your work, that's what's aligned for you. Because every type has a theme, has a specific theme. When you are aligned, you will experience satisfaction. And in your case, because you also have the traits of this manifesting, you are a manifesting generator, you will experience also peace. So these are your green flags. I'm in peace, I'm satisfied, good project, yummy, my body is happy with this. The opposite is when you're probably trying to say yes to things that are not aligned to you, that come from the head, from trying to prove how good you are. If you're hurrying to get rid of the pressure, or if you're holding on to things that are not good for you, then you might feel very frustrated and stuck, and like it's a drag to go to, to do things. And also you might be angry, it was like, damn, this is like horrible. As a manifesting generator, you have the ability to kind of skip steps. It's like generators, pure generators work in small steps. That's ideal for them. They're gonna be like one step, another one, methodical, step by step by step, small steps. Now comes the manifesting generator like yourself, and you are more fast. It's like, bam, you can see, oh, but we could skip step 2 and 3 and 4 and jump to 5, bam, bam. And then you can be quick. You can finish things quicker, and you can handle more projects than other people can. The danger is that if you are too quick, you might skip essential steps and then feel frustrated and angry that you have to go back and fix them.
I'm
So
a terrible baker for exactly that reason. I'm an amazing cook.
okay. Because you want to skip the steps of like waiting for the dough and all that stuff.
It's the following the directions. Yeah, no, I'm very bad at that. IKEA furniture is terrible. But this is systemic. It is how I approach life.
Yes, it's part of your design, let's say, like if we're looking at this. So there's nothing wrong with you. It's just, the same traits can be qualities or can be, what's the other word? Not defects, but they can have negative effects if we don't use them wisely. So like anything in life, it's like this and that. Human design is all about this binary. Everything can be like this or the opposite. So you can have that energy or not. Let me wrap up with the types. So manifesting generators, you have the open and enveloping aura, and you are here to respond to life, not initiate. Projectors like myself, you have seen me, all the other types. So how you recognize if it's a generator or a non-energy type, we don't have the sacral center defined. Yeah. So if you look and there's like the sacral center, okay, they're a generator. If there's a channel that connects one of the motors to the throat, the motor is the sacral, the heart, also the solar plexus is also a motor and an awareness center. If we have any connection of this to the throat, then that's what is called a manifesting generator. Now, a projector like myself, we don't have the sacral and we don't have any motors connected to the throat. And the projector aura is focused and absorbing. And it's interested in the other. So the projector is all about curious about who are you? Let me see. And the aura just goes inside the other person and gets information from there. And then the projector can ask good questions and guide if they are recognized and invited. If not, they can be perceived as very annoying and pushy, and people will say, shut up, I didn't ask you that. And yeah, for good reasons. So one of the lessons for projectors is to learn to wait to be recognized and invited, because that's our strategy. And we are here to be guides. We're not here to work in the same way that you generators are here to work. Doesn't mean we're not here to work, because honestly, most projectors are like, yeah, I don't really want to work. But it's not that I don't want to work. I don't want to work in the way that most people do, because I'm not equipped to do that. It's a very different way of working. So that's projectors. And then you have manifestors who don't have the sacral center, but they have, for example, the heart connected to the throat or the solar plexus connected to the throat. So even if they don't have the sacral center defined, they still have quite a lot of energy. They are the only ones who are here to initiate, and they're here to have an impact in the world. And their aura is closed and kind of repelling, like telling people to get out of my way. It's just like, I'm on a mission here. I need to do this, so just get away. Their strategy is to inform people. Otherwise, they're going to be meeting a lot of resistance and pushback from people who will be like, what are you doing? Like, because they're also very quick and a few steps ahead of everyone, but they need to inform other people so their life gets easier and they can experience peace and not so much anger. There's 1% of people who are reflectors. They have no definition whatsoever. Yeah, they only have hanging gates. No center is colored in for them. And their aura is Teflon-like and sampling. They're kind of the evaluators of their environment. So they're, the canary in the coal mine.
Yes.
That's kind of what the reflectors are for our world. So if the reflector is healthy and is good, and then their environment is healthy. If the reflector is not okay, then there's something wrong with the environment that they are in. That's one of the ways to look at that. So these are the the four types. Yeah, there are four types according to the human design system. So you're part of the majority of people of the generator type and part of the sub species, let's say, of the generators, the ones that are very quick, the manifesting generators. And how you operate in order to, to find the work that it's satisfying for you and for every type is to follow our strategy. Like in your case, wait to respond. In the case of the projector is wait for recognition and invitation. For the reflector is to wait for a whole lunar cycle before they make a big decision. And the manifestors, they need to inform, let people know what they're going to do. Now, telling a manifesting generator that you need to wait to respond is probably always met like, what? What do you mean?
Yes, that is the question.
It's like, nah, I'm not going to wait for anything. I'm too busy. I'm doing things. Now, as far as my understanding so far is to wait to see what lights you up, is to start projects from the wisdom of your body that will tell you, yes, I have energy for this, or no, I don't have energy for this. Because for both generators and manifesting generators, you need to always listen to the sacral response. The sacral is the only center that actually speaks. And it speaks with guttural sounds like or if I'm not sure yet, ask me again later. So in the case of generators who don't have the solar plexus defined, their authority is sacral. So it's all dependent on the sacral response. So for them, it's quite simple and straightforward. You ask them yes or no questions, and then you listen to their sounds like, like, yummy, all this. It's a yes. And it's a yes from the wisdom of the body, from their sacral, who says, yes, I have the energy for this. I want to commit to this. Or it can be also like, especially for manifesting generators, and I don't know if you experience this, when something lights you up, you might feel like your body leans forward. You know, like the pendulum exercise is kind of...
I call it a full body yes.
Yes, exactly. Wonderful. So that's a full body yes. And the same is for a full body no. It's like you can feel like somebody's pushing you, pressing you against the wall behind if it's a no. Ideally, that's how you guide your life, and that's how you go about it. Now, because you have also the solar plexus defined, the sacral center is not your authority. Your ultimate authority is actually the solar plexus. I have this one too. Like 50% of the population, we have solar plexus authority. And I find it a little bit tricky. I asked quite a few generators and manifesting generators who have this design, like they have the emotional authority. And from the mantra for emotional authority is there's no truth in the now. It's like no matter how big the full body yes or no is, if it's a bigger project, ideally you would say, it sounds wonderful, but let me sleep on it. And wait at least 24 hours. In your, small day-to-day things like what I'm going to eat, small interactions, of course, you're going to be guided by the sacral. It's going to be like, yes, this is yummy. No. So that's correct. But when it comes to bigger stuff, a new big project, a move to somewhere, bigger stuff, usually for emotional authority people, no matter what the type we are, because you can have a projector, a manifestor, or a generator, or a manifesting generator with emotional authority, it's no truth in the now. Don't jump, don't say yes from a very excited place. Like when you're, we explain emotional authority, like if you imagine yourself as a body of water, yeah, a lake, or better would be like an ocean because it's very deep. And then if somebody throws some pebbles, you're gonna see the ripples. And because it's a pebble, it's a small decision, it's like the ripples are gonna disappear quickly, and then you go back to that place of neutrality. And that's a good place to say yes or no to something. Now, if somebody comes and throws like a big rock, big decision, I'm gonna move countries, or whatever, a huge project for work, then you're gonna have like huge waves. And for an emotional authority person, the more you wait for those waves to settle, the better it is. The more you reach clarity. And another thing that helped me a lot with making decisions correctly is to know that as an emotional authority person, there's never like 100% clarity. Because the sacral, yeah, can give you that. But the emotional, it's always, because there's always another wave. There's always something, a subwave. There's another one underneath and another one. And there's always moving. Even if it seems still, there's some undercurrent going there. And there's another pebble coming. And it's always moving. So being happy with 70-80% clarity, that's okay. And another thing is to avoid making big decisions. Like I said, whenever you're high on your wave, like when you have, because that's when we say we have like pink colored glasses, we feel like everything is wonderful. Yes. And then you might say yes to stuff that actually is not so good for you.
That's definitely happened.
Of course. Exactly. And then you might be very low on your way. Yeah. You might be in a dark, like, on the bottom of the ocean. It's like, damn, it's dark here. I don't want to know anything. I'm going to say no to everything and everyone. So that's not good either, because we might throw away a very good opportunity. So that's why knowing we have emotional authority is so helpful. And it's also that I don't know if it's Chinese or whatever mantra. It's like, these too shall pass. Nothing will stay forever. We're not going to be always high on the wave. We're not going to be always low. But our golden point for making decisions with this design is neutrality. It's like people describe it like a feeling of groundness, being grounded, or being still, or feeling their energy like very centered. It's all about going back to the body, and like, for example, going back to your life and see when you felt you made correct decisions, and how you were, how, if you waited, if you jumped in, what happened, how you were feeling in your body. And another thing is, like, whenever you feel rushed, nervous, pressured, and somebody keeps asking you for an answer, then the answer is no. It's like, if you want an answer now, then it's no. If you give me more time, maybe my waters will settle and I will have clarity. But giving an answer from that pressured, feeling or contracted, or then that's a no. That's a clear no. Even if it might change in a few days, who knows? But in that moment. So that's another thing to embrace as an emotional authority person. It's like, yeah, if you want an answer right now, no, it's no. So people need to be kind of educated that you need a bit more time. Does that resonate with how you?
It really does. I live, 90% of the time I am going with my gut instincts and completely led by that. But for the really big questions,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's those are those. I've definitely noticed benefit from not going with my first gut response, because usually I get sort of really excited from somebody else's energy and they want me to
Mm,
do something. And it's been a journey to learn to say, let me think on that and give you an answer in a couple days.
lovely. You already done, yeah, that's, you've already intuitively felt that. So now you have like a confirmation from your design that that's correct for you.
Yes, and that's helpful. That's very helpful, especially since so much of my decision making doesn't happen there. It happens, the other way, just like going with, here's what my gut says, I'm going to go that way.
Mhm.
I make decisions very fast most of the time.
Exactly, because you have this, you have the sacral response, and the sacral is never wrong. Yeah, so even if your first gut instinct is correct, what happens is like when you allow time to settle, to not be too excited, then it can happen that the initial offer might get better, or if it's not correct for you, it will just fall away. They will be like, oh, nope, they never contact me anymore. They just disappeared. And it's like, in the end, there's nothing for you to do. It just, things filtered themselves out. What's correct for you will keep coming back. And they're going to be like, no, Lauren, no, I really want you. I really want you. And I want to give you this. And blah, blah, blah. And let's give her a better offer. So, whereas if it's something that was not aligned, they would be like, oh, no, she's like so slow. She needs so much time. Nah, and they just don't contact you anymore. I'm just giving a imaginary example, but it can really happen like this. So yeah, trusting that time is on your side with emotional authority. And yes, most of the time it's probably the same answer that you felt in your gut, but it's just like more clear. It's even like, yes, that's it. And from a calm space, not a, it's so exciting. It's wonderful. It can look like from outside and from somebody who doesn't know that that's how the emotional authority operates. It can look like you don't really care anymore about that thing. You can be like, yep, let's do it, but not, yay, let's do it, like motivational workshop stuff, pumping up, yeah. That's not correct for us. Yeah, we can be highly pumped and la la la, but for big stuff, for big decisions, no, don't, no. For us, no. For other people, yes, but for us, emotional authority, no. So that's something to really have in mind and honor, and use this language exactly with people around you, so they then know. They're like, oh, Lauren, you have emotional, yeah, I know you need a little bit more time, so take your time, come back to me like in a couple of days, whatever the project needs, a couple of weeks, who knows? Sometimes it can be months until something really settles and we feel a full body. Yes. So yeah, that's something with to have in mind with this center defined in your case, and also having access to the sacral authority. Now, with this channel, I'm just going to briefly go, because that's not the point of this today. It's like to keep it on the big surface. You are here to be busy, you are here to do things, to follow your own convictions, to do things your way, and to use your energy in projects that bring you satisfaction, that are aligned with your values, with how you feel, with what feels correct in your gut for yourself. And whenever you go into this I must, I have, but what if, blah, blah, that's all from the mind. And that's usually where it's probably turning into something that your cycle is like, no, it's, now I don't have the energy for that. So you've probably experienced both situations.
Yeah, when I was younger, I was definitely trying to do all the things that people told me I should do, and it felt terrible. And that's how you make an entrepreneur. You just torture them, working in other people's offices, doing terrible work that I just couldn't care about. And
Oh, yes.
yeah, I've had my own business for 12 years.
Awesome. It turned into something beautiful. Yeah, all that torture, like you mentioned it. You took it, you learned, and yeah, you're doing your own thing now. It's wonderful.
I always wondered at other people's capacity. You know, when I was working in that office and I was looking around at the other people, and they were not tortured.
No,
Like they were okay with it. And I just could never fathom how you could be okay in that environment doing that kind of work. And my husband is okay with it. And I love my husband and I respect him tremendously. He's brilliant.
hmm,
He is comfortable doing office
working in
work,
that,
right,
yeah,
working for somebody else.
yeah,
I can't do it. And I never could.
no.
I was always terrible at it and it felt horrible. And I just thought, well, I must be like really weak. Like these people must have strength that I don't possess.
I must agree that I kind of felt the same when I was also like, I can't fit into any freaking regular, normal setup job. I just couldn't. And in my case, I would just get sick, like because I was just trying and trying to be like everyone else. And imagine in my case being a projector, trying to work in the rhythm and the pace and all that stuff
Mm,
as a generator, it would just burn me out. And then I would just frequently get sick, or I would just have, back pain and stuff like that. And I couldn't get it because everyone around me was, like you said, how come? Like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do things like this? And then, we're so unique and nobody should be working in a way that doesn't feel aligned with them. It's no matter what your type, no matter your generator, a projector, manifestor, nobody should do that. I mean, it's like my dream is would be like everyone would do work they love. So we would live in a very like everyone is in their gifts and they're sharing exactly what's true for them and wherever they are the brightest, and stop trying to be whatever they're not, where our mind says we should be and what society says we should be, and which is, yeah,
mm,
of course you need to do your own thing, and especially like you have this an enormous energy at your disposal, because a generator is like you have access to renewed energy every day. It's you need to use it to exhaust it by the end of the day. The sacral energy, it's like a refill of your battery. Yeah, it's like you use it doing work you love. By the end of the day, you need to be exhausted. As a manifesting generator, you shouldn't work like to the point of exhaustion, like when you're just completely fall asleep while working. You should take like a little bit of time, like half an hour, do a little bit of light work, for example, reading, or take your laptop in your bed. So kind of have a buffer time. And then once that energy is exhausted, you will fall asleep. For generators, pure generators, it's advised that they just keep going, and then they just put their head on the pillow and they fall asleep. So
that
it's,
sounds terrible.
but that's correct for them. It's like, those kids when you see them at parties or whatever, and then they just run around, and then you find them asleep on the floor. Those are generator kids. They're like, and that's correct for them. It's perfectly correct for them. For the rest of us, for example, projectors, we need to take even longer. It's like, it's so funny. We should rest before we sleep. It's like to take like at least an hour, I know, half an hour of decompression, decompression, lying down, allowing time to discharge the energies that we absorb from other people, and then um, fall asleep. So yeah, for everyone it's a bit different, and ideally everyone would sleep separately, their own aura, no matter what type you are, because what happens during sleep, you're gonna keep amplifying whatever centers your partner has defined, for example. And it's like you can't wake up as yourself if you're constantly in another person's aura, and they can't wake up as themselves if we're constantly like this in each other's aura. So one experiment that I encourage everyone to do, and I've been doing this for quite some time now, and I feel like it's such a blessing to be able to do that, because not everyone can, to just sleep alone, no matter if you're married, if you're in a partnership or not. You just do everything together else, and then Everyone, you know, like in history, you have the queen and the castle, and the queen and the king, and everyone had their own quarters.
Yes.
I think they were onto something there. They were like,
I have to say, like high priority is getting a king size bed because we do need just more space.
yes.
We only have one bedroom because we both
Uh-huh.
have our individual offices, but
Mhm.
especially with the dog and the cat, it gets a little
Yeah.
crowded.
Yeah. Something to experiment with, even if one sleeps on the couch for one night, just to see how you wake up afterwards. Like to have at least 2 arms length in between each other. But with you generators, you have even bigger auras. So you probably would need, yeah, one in one room and one in the other room. I don't know what your husband's design is. I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I would be curious to look at that. We can also do connection charts. We can do stuff to look at like where are your, friendship points, compromise points, where the friction can be, where is like attraction and stuff like that. It's very interesting to see all that in couples.
It is,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and it can help a lot to understand what's going on and just know how to handle it instead of feeling like, oh, you never understand this and you never listen to that. It's like, yeah. Okay, let's share a little bit about these beautiful open centers, because what happens is, like in human design, we say the head and the ajna, they form the mind. And every center has like what we call, you see here, a not self theme. Yeah, when it's undefined. And our journey in this life is to learn about this and to become very wise. This is wherever we are completely open, like in your case, the heart and the head. These are areas of the biggest conditioning, biggest suffering, let's say, because it is a lot of suffering, to take in all that stuff from other people and amplifying it and trying to behave like it's yours, but it's not. And then we become very wise in that theme. And then we can actually share with other people and be useful to them and even make money with that wisdom. um, so let's start with this little one, because this one is the most painful for all of us who have it undefined or open. It's called the heart center. Also, it's called the wheel or the ego. So the three names are used interchangeably. The theme for this center is feeling unworthy and undervalued. And the question that we need to ask ourselves is, do I think I have something to prove? Now, how this manifests, I also have it undefined. I have one gate, so I don't have it completely open, but it's pretty similar. We can have difficulties like charging for our services as much as we feel like we should or we deserve. We might overgive, over deliver, undercharge and over deliver. Overgiving, you mentioned that a little bit, like always giving more, always giving more. No limits. It's like, because there's this underlying theme that we need to prove what a good wife, what a good daughter, what a good partner, worker, whatever title we have. We really need to do more than everyone else to just prove how good we are. And so then they can value us. So then we can feel valued.
That's interesting. I do see that in the tendency to overgive, which, it's also it's a tremendous strength. It's certainly not something I'm looking to let go of. Putting some healthy boundaries around, yes. Letting
Yes,
go, no.
exactly. Like to give from this place of overflowing, not from the place of, oh, I need to prove how good I am.
Yes.
That's the
Overflowing is
difference.
a really good image for giving at its most positive.
Exactly. Because it's a very different energy, and we can feel it in ourselves and we can feel it in other people when they give, but actually they want something unconscious. They want our approval, they want our praise, they want our, and of course it's wonderful to give and share that. But if it's from this, oh, I'm so unworthy and I need to do all this, so you can see how beautiful I am, and that's the place of the not self theme for the heart center. So undefined heart people, we have nothing to prove, and we're not here to make promises. We should avoid making promises because we don't have the willpower to follow through, like the people who have defined hearts. It's how I'm using this is like, for years I've tried to, I have different blogs. I was like, I'm going to send a weekly newsletter. I'm going to publish a video every week. I'm going to, what everyone does and suggests you do. Guess how many times I failed miserably at that? Every fucking time, every freaking time. So when I learned about this, now on my website, I have like, you're going to receive infrequent, low volume updates from me. I'm a projector. I'm just gonna, flow with the energy, something like that. I don't even remember what I put there. So I just dropped this idea altogether. But it took me many years and learning about human design to stop making promises like that.
I think of myself as not very self-motivated, so I have to create accountability structures so other people can basically carry me to do. So if I want to exercise more, I have to join a class. I can get myself to a class every day, but I cannot get myself out running by myself every day. It would never happen.
Yes, that's wonderful. You found your way. Accountability structures to help you follow through with the good habits that you want to have. And that's wonderful. And it's true. We don't have this innate willpower. Let's say, not that we don't have it, we don't have constant access to it, because nothing is missing from your design or from mine. Yeah. It's not like if you don't have this or you don't have anything here, you don't have consistent access to it. Because when the transits come, when somebody comes in your, in the connection with your husband, you maybe have, maybe you have a defined heart, maybe he has a defined heart. And then you experience what it means to have from him. So it's not that we're missing something, because people, when they look, like I did the same. I said, oh my God, I only have 2 centers defined. What's wrong with me? Like, oh, I want to have more, it's there's nothing missing. Like everything is perfect exactly as it is, because this is who you are. And you have your own gifts and strengths and potential for wisdom. So another thing with the completely open heart can be like going through extremes, from feeling like I'm having a very inflated sense of worth, like I'm the queen, the king of the world, whatever, something like really exaggerated, and then falling to the opposite. Oh my God, I'm nothing. I'm worthless. Like, oh my God, I'm terrible. So especially for completely open heart, I know it happens. It's like more of a swing in between those two extremes. Whereas undefined heart is like a constant unworthy. Oh, I have a little bit, but then actually no. So this is not such a big swing from in between these extremes. So it's good to notice if you find yourself in either of these states, mind trips, because these are mind trips. Just to know, it's you're gathering wisdom for your undefined heart, open heart. And none of that is true. What happens to us when we're in the presence of a defined heart person, it can be that we can become very competitive. Like we want to prove even more how strong and smart and blah, 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 and good we are in whatever conversation happens. And that can be something else to notice, and to know the charts of the people around you, and then just notice this dynamic happening. If it happens, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. So that's the open heart. Now, then if you go to the head, majority of people, we have an undefined head. I have gate 64 and 63. So for me, I have quite a good, strong filters here. But in your case, you have like the heart, you have no filters. So you experience the theme of thinking about things that don't matter, or sometimes maybe feeling like you don't know what to think about. Can be like, what's interesting, what's inspiring? I need something inspiring. I don't know. always looking for something inspiring, or going down the rabbit hole, searching for something until you even 3 hours later and you find yourself doing some research into something that you're like, why am I doing this? Like, just because you got that idea from somebody else, or somebody asked you a question that was not so important for them, but your open head said, oh my god, this is like so interesting, I need to figure it out.
I can see that. If you looked at my search history, it would be very, very reflective of that.
Yeah. So the wisdom here is to, we need to become wise about what's really we're thinking about, Be mindful when we waste our mental energy on stuff that doesn't matter. That's comes in time. It comes in time and observation and being present. And then the undefined ajna. So the head is like a pressure to that goes like this down. It's mental pressure that then gets transformed into thoughts, answers, opinions, insights, ideas, concepts. So this is the center for conceptualizing. The not self theme, the shadow, is like we're going to try to pretend to be certain. So I remember when I was younger, I was like, I could get very much like very argumentative, like this is how it is, I know I'm right, and be very maybe also competitive because somebody probably had a defined heart around me, and it was like a really hilarious trip going back, looking back, and then we need to ask ourselves, am I trying to convince everyone that I'm certain? The mantra here that I learned to say is like, I don't know, and somebody asks me something and I'm not sure, I don't know, or from my experience so far, I know this, but then let me look, let me check, stuff like that. I'm not here to be really certain about my ideas and concepts and all that stuff. Neither are you with an undefined ajna.
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with that. I'm very comfortable with not having all of the answers. Although I do tend to project like you know everything.
Exactly. That's the theme of the undefined ajna. We might, want to project to appear like we know, I know. Yeah, it's like that. Oh, I know that too. I know that too.
I mean, I'm definitely not like faking it. I'm not saying I know something if I'm not sure. Like, I'm very comfortable saying I'm not sure about that. Let me think about it. But yeah, the overarching energy is I have all of the answers. It's not intentional. I don't try to do that. It just happens.
It just happens, yes. And you have this hanging gate here, the gate of rationalization.
That sounds dangerous. That sounds like I can rationalize anything.
Anything, yes, yes.
True.
And go back over stuff that happened and just figure things out. Yeah, and that's it's something to keep in mind, because that's how we, like in human design, we say it takes at least 7 years for a complete cycle for us to decondition from all the parts that we have undefined, from all the conditions received in the undefined centers, once we start following our strategy and authority. Yeah, so strategy, way to respond, it's to respond and to wait for emotional clarity before making big decisions. And once you allow your body to move you in this life and not your mind, then things start to shift and experience more satisfaction and more peace, less frustration, less stuckness, and whatever else you might experience. That's the experiment that we're in with human design. Then if we go to the spleen, the theme is of the undefined spleen, and this is not just about the spleen, it's the whole immune system. So this is all the like the spidey senses, like when you feel something around you or you smell something, it's all about survival, feeling good, well-being. It's also about the basic fears of survival, intuition. That's what the spleen center is about. Theme is the not self theme, is that holding on to what is not good for you. That can be people, jobs, situations, places. And I've done that a lot. Like I recognize this. Oh my God! Like from things to people to having such a difficulty leaving, a job that was not healthy for me anymore, or relationships or stuff like that. So knowing that I have this undefined spleen, again, it's like, okay, I know I have this tendency. So the wisdom is to learn to let go, to learn what's healthy and what's not healthy for me. And with this one, it's also good to go for like more homeopathic, natural remedies, stuff like that, lighter stuff, not necessarily allopathic medicine. Because with an undefined spleen, we are kind of more sensitive to anything that comes into our body. So I don't know if this resonates with your approach to whatever.
Completely.
Completely awesome that you listen to your body. Yeah, we don't need such strong medicine, let's say, for anything. Ideally, I know stuff can happen, but if we are in tune, we can become very wise about our own health and well-being, and we can even sense other people when they are not well.
Yeah, that is one of my superpowers, I think. Which that's funny that it's reflected there. I hadn't really thought about it
Uh-huh.
as different.
So you do feel other people.
Yeah, super intuitive, but also very tuned into my own body and
Mm-hmm.
well-being, like physical well-being.
Yes.
Uh, and very tuned into other people as well. But
Yeah, yeah. And it can happen. For example, it happened to me. If I'm next to someone who's really unwell, I can feel really bad. Like I can really get sick and I feel like I need to get away from there.
yes.
And it happened to me so many times. It's like, and it can be random. It can be like in a bus, next to someone, or then it's like listening to your body and just get away from there. It's like, yep. And yes, we can become very wise about our health, and we, as children, we might tend to get sick more often with an undefined spleen. But then in time, because we can learn to, like you said, to be very in tune with our body and realize when something's off, like when it's really tiny, a tiny signal.
Yes.
And because we pick it up very early on, then we take measures like, get some vitamin C or whatever we feel we need it, or rest a little bit more, drink more, whatever. Then we can have better health for a longer time. Whereas defined spleen people, they usually have a more robust immune system from the beginning. And the danger for them is that they can take it for granted and they don't pay attention to the fine, signals, to the tiny signals that their body sends. And then if they get sick, they can get very sick. Like all of a sudden they're well, and then like bam, because they kind of ignore that. So for them also, they need to be aware and in tune with their body also. And not take for granted, not take it for granted that they're very good health. Then we have the root center, which in your case is undefined. And this one is like pressure from below. Yes, we have pressure from above. Imagine you are in a pressure cooker in your case. You have the open head center and you have the root center. And they're both pressing and sending energy. This one goes through this, through here, and they all go to the throat. Yeah. And here it goes to the throat. That's how the energy flows in the body graph. Now, the root center is all about stress. It's correspondence with the adrenal glands, and it's that pressure to be free. It's the not self theme is to be in a hurry, to be free of the pressure. So I don't know if you feel how you feel about this, if you've already realized it, that you might feel this like, oh, I need to get this done quickly. I need to get this done quickly. And then when you finish something, you just jump onto the next thing. You don't take some time to really, okay, now that's done. I can enjoy this one, or we'll take a break. Or, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, no, this needs to be done now, and this needs to be done. How is your experience with this?
Yeah.
Being in a hurry or feeling a pressure to just get things done?
Yeah, I mean, the most basic thing is I want to do dishes right after dinner so I don't have to worry about them later.
Yes, that's a very good example. So the wisdom here is to realize that you don't have to hurry and you don't have to move in anybody else's pace. Because what happens, you're going to amplify the root energy of the people around you. Imagine you being in an office, half the people there with, defined root centers, and you're going to amplify all that. And they can be like really chill and they take their time, and you're going to be, oh my God, I need to do this and I need to do that. And I need to, because it's amplified.
Mm.
So just remember, you don't have to hurry. It's like becoming wise. Okay, does this need to be done right now or not? It's not allowing your mind, because that's what the mind then speaks through all these centers where we are undefined and gives you all the reasons through the not self themes to do things from these themes instead of from your sacral and your emotional center.
Mm.
That's the danger. That's how we get derailed, let's say, from our track. Like in your case, if you say yes to a project because you want to show how good you are, how worthy you are, because somebody said something and you took that idea and you find it, oh my God, it's so inspiring and it's wonderful. Or somebody with a defined Ajna said something and they're like, you want to show them how certain you are and how right you are about something. And you are afraid to lose someone, you're afraid to let go of some project because what if I don't find something else good? And you have to do all this very quickly so you can get rid of that pressure. All that is the way that your mind is talking, and none of this is true. None
So
of this is true.
remind me the throat, the throat chakra.
Mm-hmm. This is the center. You see, it has the most gates here. Yeah. In your case, because it's defined, you have access to consistent energy to verbalize. Yeah. You have
Hmm.
in your presence people with an undefined throat, like myself, for example, we might find ourselves talking incessantly.
That makes sense for so many of my clients. All of a sudden they can find the words to describe what they do, and all I do is type really fast so I capture it.
And then you can put it in a nice, because they will amplify your throat energy. And the theme for the throat, when it's undefined, like in my case, is that we're talking to attract attention. And for us, it's not healthy to talk so much. For us, it's healthy to only talk when somebody asks. But what happens in dynamics is that we're not aware of this. And then we find ourselves like talking until we're like, and that's already a sign we talk too much. So that's one of the aspects of the throat. So here it's all about communication, the manifestation, the putting into action. It's every one of these gates has a voice. If I remember correctly, the 20th gate is I am now. So it's all about the now. Yeah, it's in the now. And just like connected with the 34, it's about being busy now. You're doing your thing now. It's all about the now. So that's the throat. Then you have the G center defined, which is about identity, love, and direction. So this means that you are one of those, because it's defined in your case, you kind of have this defined sense of identity, of self, or something consistent about you.
Very much so. To the point where I really struggle to understand people who have difficulty with that. When I was
That's me.
9, like 10, my English teacher was talking about finding your voice in your writing, and I'm like, why would anybody struggle with that? I don't get it.
Of course, for you, with such a strong individual definition, integration, it's called here, like a sense of self. This is the gate of behavior of the self. And with the center, with the G center and the throat defined, it's like, yeah, I have my voices, of course, and they're always there for me. It's constant. Whereas I, with a completely open G center and an undefined throat, I would just reflect and, have the voice of the people around me. And the identity, I'm more like a chameleon.
Mm.
And I noticed this throughout my life, and I can be very, it's like I can adjust to pretty much any situation, connection. Like I can be friends with very different groups of people that they would not get along with each other. And I was like, how come I am okay with that and that, but they cannot be? And then I found out about the G center that mine is completely open, completely like your heart and head. Yeah. So I have no gates there. So this means I'm more like a mirror for the people I'm with.
Ah.
So that helps me in the coaching that I do. And what people tell me is like they feel like I'm not judging and not imposing anything on them, because I don't have any kind of this fixed energetic identity that they feel that comes on them. So they can feel like this, I can completely be me. That's what my clients and my friends say. It's like, how come you're not judging and you're not, I don't feel any pressure from you to be in a different way. And it's like, I'm a mirror, it's like, yeah, that's what I'm here. It's like, I'm here to ask you questions and to hold this space for you so you can figure out on your own. That's one of the gifts of the undefined G center. And I've had this insight like a couple of months ago. I made a video and posted on YouTube, and I have quite a few comments on that one. It's like, oh yes, that's how it is. So I can understand, like, from defined G people, they're like, oh, so that's why they are different. Like you said, how come you have trouble finding your voice? It's like, duh. Yeah, so it's just knowing this can bring so much light.
That's fascinating, and what a wonderful ability. First of all, that is such a gift, and I've learned to be careful with my clients because I will suddenly get an idea in my head that I think is absolutely perfect for them, and my instinct is to just bowl them over with this amazing idea I've just had for their business, for their life. I'm like, I realize I just came on very, very strong.
Yes,
Feel free to say, no, that's not for me.
exactly. That's a powerful insight that you had, because I realized with my defined G friends, close friends, when they say something, even if it's not like coming, like you said, like you have like this amazing idea, I want to, even if it's just from a very settled tone, not very excited, I can feel that so strongly in my being that that's actually a good an amazing insight you had on your own, that you have a responsibility as a defined G person, especially when you have undefined G clients, because they will can get so excited, they can take that idea on board, and then they can think that's true for them, even if it's a great idea, but they need to to filter it to their own authority first. But they can get so carried away with whatever you're saying, because they're going to amplify it, and they're going to be, yes, of course we're going to do that.
Yes, I often thought if I had taken a different track in life, I would have made an amazing religious leader.
Yes.
Very easy to get people excited about the great idea and let's go do this thing. And no, that is not, that is not
Yes.
the effect I want. I
Yes.
want
With
everybody to
your
think for themselves.
yeah. With all this definition here, yes, you have a huge impact. Like with your defined throat, with your defined G, with the energy that comes from the sacral, and with the depth of your emotions, it's like, yes, you have a big impact. So it's a very awesome thing. You've noticed that, and you're like, toning it down. And then you can start like looking at that. You can ask their charts, for example, and just know just the basics, like what centers they have defined, undefined, and what type they are. So then you can just encourage them, oh, okay, so you need to take some time to feel into this. Or if they're sacral, it's like asking them yes or no questions, because that's how the sacral authority operates. And there are many other authorities, depending on what type they are. Projectors have the most authority types. So yeah, it's great insight to have about this, the G center, because as undefined, we're like always obsessed with identity, love, and direction. It's like, where's my love? Where's my direction? Who am I? I was like always, who am I? What am I? Like, and it's not like we don't have an identity with when we have an undefined G center, but it's kind of a more of a fluid sense, and it develops over time. And our direction is not so clear and fixed. It's kind of revealing itself over time when we are aligning with our strategy and authority. But we can't just figure it out mentally. And that's what we usually try. Undefined heritage. And I was like, I have to figure it out. I have to make sense of this. Oh, how come I don't know? It's like, no, I don't need to know. It's just like one step at a time, allow things to unfold. Yeah, and the sacral is like the life force energy. It's like your, it's related to the ovaries or the testes, and it's about sexuality, it's about fertility, and you have the channel which is called the channel of mating, the 59-6. So it's about creative power, and many people that I know with this channel, they have kids quite early. But it's not just about kids. It can be any creative project. You can birth a business or some kind of project, a community, something that's there for you. It's even if it's called the channel of mating, it's not just about the kids. You can use it in any way you want, but you have this potential.
That's very interesting. I had that echoed back in the astrology reading I had. The astrologer said, you will have no problem having kids. Like, that's just not going to be a struggle for you. And I'm like, really? Because that just doesn't seem like a great idea, but I'm super into my business.
You have your baby already. You have your business. That's your current baby. But if at some point you feel like, I want to, birth some humans, bring some humans along my business, that shouldn't be a problem for you. Indeed.
That's good. That's
you have the resources. You have the consistent access to resources to actually do that.
That makes sense.
So yeah, it's one aspect to have in mind.
That's very reassuring to hear. I'm 36. I've got to, fish or cut bait at some point.
Yeah, I know. I'm 40 and I'm a projector, and what it said is like, oh, projectors shouldn't have children. I don't agree with any of this. Like, if you're a generator, you should have children, or if you're a projector, you shouldn't. It's about, if you're going to have children as a projector, you're probably going to struggle a little bit more, and it's going to be more exhausting for you, and you would need like a proper tribe around to help you raise these kids without burning out and getting sick. I know many projector mamas. I know many projectors. We have many kids and stuff like that. For some, it's easier. For some, it's more difficult. I don't think it's easy for anyone who has kids because it's the most challenging thing in the world to do. But it's about knowing what you're gonna be up to. What you're gonna, what are your resources and how you can use them best.
I'm a big believer in figuring out what support structures you need to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
None of us are just going to power through anything alone.
Exactly. Some of us have more of this power through, like in your case, and most generators, you have the drive, you have enough energy to power through and to plug through stuff that doesn't really align. But it's not so fun to do that.
Not worth it.
Why not make it fun? When you can make it fun. Yeah. So to wrap up, because my theme with an undefined sacral center, I don't know when enough is enough. So I go overboard with the meetings. I always go. It's like, it's a constant theme, but I also have fun. It's like, I like it, and and it's a constant like, okay, I need to keep my meetings to the point, and then, but it's so fun, and
It's so fascinating. Yeah, I completely lost track of time.
yeah, of course. Yeah, I just look now. It's like sometimes I put a reminder, and then I'm experimenting with this. Yeah, so this is the sacral for us is like we need to learn about when enough is enough, and healthy boundaries. Um, More so than you who you already have this center defined. And yeah, the solar plexus center is about the not self theme in an undefined person is avoiding confrontation and truth. But also from my experience, it doesn't mean that you have definition, you're completely free of the not self themes. I don't think that's true. You're gonna experience them too, but maybe not to the same degree as a person who has them undefined, because you have consistent energy there, so it's going to be easier to to deal with those things. That's my from my own experience so far. It's
That
not
makes
that
sense.
you're completely immune to the not self if you are defined. It's not. I struggled with confrontation and truth a long time.
Yes.
Still a work in progress, even if I'm defined here. Yeah, so but I can see how it is even more challenging for people who have it undefined to get to that point, but they have the potential to become super wise on this eventually. Yeah, there's so many other things to talk about, like each of your channels and your profile, like a 6-2. We have this in common. I have a 2 here, so this is the Hermit. The Hermit, the second line here, it's called the Hermit, and the sixth line here is the role model. So this gives you like the purpose in life, the costume of your purpose in life. The 6-2 is called the role model Hermit. So you might have experienced your life up to 30 years being very different from your life now after 30. Because the 6-line person will have like 3 different stages in their life. Up to 30 years of age, you will be living like a 3rd line, which means you're going to try an enormous amount of things and fail, quote unquote fail, discover how things don't work in many experiments, and so gather a lot of wisdom, but also a lot of bruises and like, oh my god, it's been like crazy. And then from 30 to 50 is like you go on the roof, we call it on the roof phase, where you kind of integrate the wisdom and you feel more aloof, and like you stay on the roof and you look at the world, and you don't feel so much like going and mingling with people like before, maybe. And then at 50 you will be called out to share your wisdom and embrace your role model teacher role. That's kind of very briefly what the 6th line is about. And the 2 is the Hermit, is the natural, the genius, it's like you have many talents that you're not even aware of. The 2nd line, you might do things that feel so easy for you and you have no idea how you do them, and other people can look and say like, wow, how do you do that? And you're like, what? I don't know what you're talking about, so, and the Hermit is like the name says, the Hermit, you need alone time, and it's like in your own, your home can be, it's like your castle, like your cave, like your secret and sacred space where you retreat. And it's healthy for you to constantly retreat whenever you feel like honoring your Hermit mode.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That's something I've really had to struggle to learn to do.
Yeah. It's okay. I've just, ever since I've learned that I'm a 5-2, so it's a bit different for me. The 5th line here, but the 2, we have it in common. So it's like, yeah, I'm hermiting. It's like people, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. What have you been doing? You've been out of town. I'm like, no, I've been hermiting. It's like,
so where does the 6 and the 2 come from?
it's like from the sun and earth. So you have the gate 59 in in line 6. It's always the same for sun and earth. Yeah. And this is the most, and for both conscious and unconscious. So here you have the 16.2, 9.2. So that's how we know what your profile is. And there's a lot more to the profile also. It's like quite a lot to talk about.
Yes, I can see how people take whole, courses
Oh,
in this.
yes. It's like years of study and diving deep. And this is just like the very basic surface. There's so much more underneath. There are more advanced charts where you can see even more advanced stuff. But that's not the point here to go. It's just like to give you
Yeah.
the taste of what's important in your case to just get started, which is your type, your strategy, authority, and the open centers. So you know what you are not, and where your mind makes up the stories of who you are, but actually you're not that.
So what's the role model hermit then?
The role model hermit comes from here. It's like we call it the profile. Yeah.
Ah,
So no matter what your type is, you can be a 6-2 and you can be a projector, a generator, or a manifestor, or a reflector. It doesn't matter the type. Together with the incarnation cross it's like the sun and earth. These are the most, like 70% of your planetary imprint comes from the sun earth. So this is like the essence of the essence. And together with so it gives you also the lines that make your profile. And this is like what's kind of show up in your life. You're gonna naturally do those things, kind of fulfill your purpose, let's say, by following your strategy and authority. Even if you don't know about them, what they mean, and blah, 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 you will naturally find yourself in that space, fulfilling that role once you are aligned with your strategy and authority.
huh. That's fascinating.
Yes, I'm glad you find it fascinating. I find it too, yeah. So if we should compress it down to one thing, it's always, you will hear people in the human design space, like for everything that somebody asks is follow your strategy and authority, follow your strategy and authority. Everything can be mind candy. It's just the moment you follow your strategy and authority, you wait to respond. You do not initiate from your mind. You wait for your full body yes or no, and you wait for emotional clarity in your case. Then things just align themselves. You don't even need to know, all this other stuff, although you might want to, because it's fascinating. But just, allowing your body to move you instead of your mind, which is brilliant. Like the mind is a beautiful instrument, but for other people, for solving other people's
That makes a lot of sense.
problems and to give them solutions, not for your stuff. You have the sacral, you have the emotional authority. That's always coming back to the body. Right. Okay. It's been super fun.
Oh.
we can.
Yeah, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that I wasn't as respectful of your time as I should have been.
I need to learn this. It's okay. I need to learn this. I'm just now feeling my energy a bit flagging, so it's good. I'm getting aware of this. I'm becoming more aware. I'm learning about the boundaries, about time and stuff like that.
This has been amazing. Thank you so much. Let me know how I
You're
can be
most
helpful and
welcome. You're most welcome. Yeah. I will send you the recording and the short feedback form. Like, of course, I would appreciate your testimonial. I don't really like this word, but I like how you say what clients said. Well, no, I like that.
I think it's like clients say the darndest things.
Exactly. Yeah, something like yeah. I like those phrases. Yeah, something like that. And yeah, we'll talk. I'll send you by email the follow up things and the link to the recording, and we'll keep in touch. I would love to know more. Yeah, after a while, for example, how it went, and if you observe these things and practice and had fun with it.
Yeah, I'll definitely let you know what happens, and I'll write a beautiful response to your questionnaires. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, and have a great day. Yeah, it's middle of the day probably there.